Welcome to my crafty update. Thank you for joining me. I'd just like to say a really big thank you to all of my subscribers, new and old. And I do know that some of you like some things more than others. Some of you are here for the Neurographic and Zentangle art. Some of you like the tutorials and some of you like the challenges and some of you just like the chatty videos. So whatever you do like to watch, feel free to use the timestamps or the chapters in the video description just to jump over to whichever part you'd like to hear me natter on about today. This week is much more of an arty update than a crafty update, and let's delve straight in with my regular sketchbook. So I have managed to complete 7 pages in this sketchbook over the last 2 weeks. Mostly I've been working with the gel pen and watercolour because it's convenient and it doesn't require an awful lot of setting up. And all of these 7 drawings have been made using my own photographs as reference material, and these photographs I've taken on my recent travels over the last few months. I do feel like I'm gaining in confidence in this sketchbook. I mean, it is infinitely better than my first sketchbook. The horse and the swan were a little bit outside of my comfort zone, but you know, I've got to push myself as well. I can't just keep drawing the same things. But the ruins that I've been drawing, I do feel like I am pretty much confident with those now. But when it comes to the buildings, the churches that I've been drawing, I'd still like to try and learn to bring in a little bit more depth into those. I think using the watercolours in this way, as kind of like a wash over the drawings, is working better for me than my attempts at the wishy-washy watercolour. But I'm not going to give up on those just yet. It's just that for the past few weeks it's been much more convenient for me to just do simple artwork. So this river scene I also attempted in my Oil Pastel sketchbook, and this is the only drawing I've done in oil pastels over the last 2 weeks. It's simple, I quite like it actually. It's giving me kind of Monet vibes. I might try this again or a similar one from a different photographs. I'm finding that I very much enjoy using these oil pastels, and that came as a complete surprise to me. And again, they don't require an awful lot of setting up, so it's very simple just to sit down and in this small square sketchbook to put out a picture in 45 minutes. So my neurographic work, well, okay, so I did finish up my last Neurotangle sketchbook, and some of you may recall that I got 3 of these sketchbooks and I blimmin' hate them, they're horrible, and I still have one of these sketchbooks left. The thing is, I haven't found any inclination to battle forth with the paper in it. I've spent several months struggling with the paper and not being able to use whatever medium that I like in these sketchbooks because it's more like card. So I mentioned last time that I was going to get some loose sheets of paper, and I did. I got a 50 pack of watercolour paper. It's only, I think, 190 GSM, which is quite thin for a watercolour paper. But I'm going to use it for my neurographic work, because I want to be able to use my inks on the paper without the paper wrinkling. So some of these I have recorded as a full process video, and I'll line them up over the next few Tuesdays. These 2, I will be doing a third in another colour in a similar style, mostly because I want to play around with the variations in the style and the colours, and yet just to see how I can use a similar style but create very different results. So I am basing these drawings that are on these A4 loose sheets of paper from designs I've done in my awful sketchbooks over the last few months. And what I'm attempting to do is to just improve the quality of the work and the overall finish, I suppose. But it's been an absolute pleasure to get my inks out again. Cannot stress that enough. My inks are my happy place. But also to be able to work on paper where I can use any medium that I want without any restrictions. Yeah. So I don't know if I'm going to go back and use that horrible sketchbook. I might just donate it, or I'm going to give myself a pat on the back for struggling forth with them, because I hate wasting money and I hate wasting art supplies. But yeah, I might go back to it. Never say never, hey? Anyway, in other Tangle-ish news, because I like to do a lot of the Neurographic and Zentangle work in the evenings, I dug out the small landscape sketchbook which I picked up a few months ago now, wasn't it? So this is now my Doodle Book. I'm going to keep the Neurographic work for now on the loose sheets of paper, and all of my doodling is going in this book. So in this sketchbook I've been trying out lots of different patterns and shapes and tangles that have just caught my eye. So, basically I'm loading up Pinterest and I'm clicking on an image, pulling something out from that image, whether it's a Tangle tutorial or an image that I've seen that that I like. And it could be the colours, it could be the pattern, it could be the composition. And what I've been doing is just jumping from one image to another and pulling out different tangles, shapes, patterns, and just drawing them all together on a page, a little bit randomly in some cases, and in other cases I've drawn out one shape and tried to create a pretty picture, I suppose. It's been an absolute pleasure to work in this book as well. The paper is a bit grainy on one side, so that's slightly annoying, but the pleasurable side of it is that I can use any medium that I want, and it's not bleeding through the page. It's not rippling the pages. Yeah, it's totally fine. Even the gel pens work much better on this paper as well. And my really dodgy inks, they look good too. Talking of which, my dodgy inks, I think I've figured out why they've gone bad. It seems I may have just accidentally put the wrong lids on the wrong bottles when I've been using two colours together, because the ink on the lid has then transferred to the rim of the bottle, and then when you've brushed your paintbrush on the edge of the bottle just to get rid of the drips, that's when I've contaminated the colours. Oh well, it's my fault and I'll learn from it, but a lot of these inks are starting to run out now, so it's not the end of the world. Weirdly enough, in my Doodle Book, I think the colour variations work very well, and they're not bothering me at all in these pictures, whereas they did on my larger scale images. In the Doodle Book, I've also really enjoyed being able to use lots of different colours that I couldn't use in the last two Neurograntic sketchbooks. Mostly because the gel pens that I was using were the only pens that would work in those last two sketchbooks. The colours are quite limited and you couldn't really get any tone from them. But with the Doodle Book I can use any medium and I can use any different colours, and yes, I'm very happy I've found my happy mediums. So I'll carry on doodling in this sketchbook over the next few weeks, and maybe I'll start thinking about working on a proper composition using some of these new tangles that I've been learning. But for now I'm hoping to just mix up the Pinterest tangles, until I find which ones I like working with best. It's very enjoyable. I can highly recommend this as an exercise. I'm not trying too hard. If I make a mistake, I'm just working it into the pattern. So I've already mentioned that I picked up some watercolour paper. I think it cost £11 for 50 sheets. I also picked up some felt and some embroidery thread for a couple of off-camera sewing projects and mending projects that I need to do. And I also got myself a brand new dip pen set. This one cost £10.50 and it's got various different nibs and 2 pen holders. This is the only dip pen set that they had in Hobbycraft, and it says it's for mapping and drawing, so I don't think I'm going to be doing any mapping. Who knows? I might. I could add it to the list, couldn't I? But I have had a go on it and I'm very happy with it so far, and I'm going to do a full review of this dip pen set, and that will go up in a couple of weeks' time. I also picked up a couple of craft kits in Aldi. They were £3.99 each. If you're lucky, they might still be in the middle aisle because I only picked them up last week. I've got one for a marble pour and one for a resin pour. So yeah, I'll try and get those started next week. I think we should try and get a bit more craft in the mix. Craft wise, well, I have made a little bit of progress on the new ink palette. I'm still scraping down the middles now to make the bottles fit properly, even though I wiggled them so that I would have room to place the bottle in. The air dry clay, when it dries, does shrink quite a lot, so I'm still having to shave a bit out of the inners. Pile of pebbles. Well, yes, the pile of pebbles is dry, and hopefully in 2 weeks' time I can show you what I'm doing with these. And the last little craft project, Jane Austen. Oh, I know, she's still not finished yet. Her hair isn't going right. I'm struggling with it. Sometimes if I don't get the head shape right, it doesn't always work out. I mean, it's getting there, but it's slow progress because I'm having to leave it to dry for a couple of days before I move on to the next stage of the hair, because it all needs to be held in place properly. But you know, it's always good to have several craft projects on the go because you never know what mood you're feeling in, and you can just pick it up and do it when you're feeling it. So the reason there's been more art going on than craft is because I've had a few bad days with my energy levels. It's been a little bit of a flare up, I think. I haven't experienced any pain for, where are we now? Crikey, we're almost June. So I haven't experienced any pain at all for at least 4 months. I've been put on some tablets called hydroxychloroquine, and they have taken away all of my pain. Until last week, when I had 3 or 4 days where I was very low on energy, and my hands and my knees in particular, were just uncomfortable, like burning, pain, horrible, yeah, not good. On those days, you know, if I can still hold a pen, I will sit in bed and rest my knees and I will draw away to my heart's content. So because of those issues, I haven't achieved much craft over the last 2 weeks, but I'm on the mend today. I feel alright, so if I don't overdo it, then hopefully I can get back to the crafts next week. So yeah, I'm just going to keep taking my tablets and wait patiently for my next round of hospital appointments. So thank you very much for joining me this week. I do hope that something may have sparked your own creativity or inspired you to give something a go. I'll be back in 2 weeks' time with my next crafty update. And in the meantime, what have we got? Well, my neurographic work, that will keep coming up on a Tuesday. And next Friday, I'll be showing you my macrame attempts. It went okay in the end, it's fine. And on Sunday, this Sunday, there will be a tutorial for my Thornfield single stem rose. This one's a do-over again because some of my very first videos were pretty awful. But the next tutorial next month will be for a full-on floral bouquet. So that's what's to come. So yeah, do let me know if you're working on anything special at the moment. Inspiration to try new things or try things in a different way can come from all kinds of different places. So yeah, I'd love to hear what you're getting up to. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all of your support and all your kind comments. They are just wonderful. And yeah, when I'm having a bad day health-wise, it always cheers me up to hear from you all. Until next time, stay crafty and maybe a little bit arty too.